Hey there, everyone, and welcome to Golf Live. I'm Ryan Asselta. We've got a great show lined up for you this Tuesday afternoon. It's President's Cup week here in New York. I sat down with the captains, Steve Stricker and Nick Price, to discuss their team rosters and why the Americans have dominated the match play event over the last 2 decades. This week also marks the much-anticipated opening of Streamsong Black down in Florida. We got a really cool exclusive drone tour of the grounds down there. Plus, Tiff Oshinsky sits down with professional race car driver Danica Patrick to find out who got her to slow down enough to play 18 holes of golf. But first, this past weekend marked the end of the 2016-17 PGA Tour season, and what an ending it was. Xander Schauffele wins the Tour Championship, becoming the first rookie to ever do so, but it was Justin Thomas who stole the spotlight, winning the FedEx Cup, and of course that $10 million bonus that comes with it. As Jordan Spieth said afterwards, dinner is on him all of next season. Let's welcome in two guys who are always quick to pick up the tab at dinner. That's Golf.com's Jeff Ritter and SI senior writer Michael Bamberger. And guys, Justin Thomas, what a year. He's not even 25 years old. 5 wins, a major, Michael, a FedEx Cup title. What impressed you so much, or the most, about Justin Thomas this season?
I think the most impressive thing is that he's a young kid. He's not accustomed to being where he is. He started off hot. He got cold. It would be easy to lose one's confidence, just like when we're playing. If we start off well and then we go south, it's kind of hard to right the ship. He righted the ship in a really significant way, which tells us something about him, that he dug deep and he found something, because he could have just coasted on to the finish line, but he didn't. He did the opposite. Yeah,
Michael points that out. He didn't back his way in here. As you see the numbers, the $9 million there, of course, on those earnings. That doesn't include the $10 million annuity bonus that he got from the FedEx Cup. So $19 million this season, Jeff. He played his way to this title, really earning it, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, you look at his record throughout the year, too. It's not like he's a guy that just got hot at the end of the summer. I mean, this started last fall with the wraparound schedule, winning in Malaysia. But even going into this year, you could have made a case that Justin Thomas was best known for being Mr. Malaysia. That was his second win on tour. That's really all he had going into the calendar year. But he just kept on going. He wins twice in Hawaii, wins the PGA Championship, wins a Fall Series event. And so start to finish, he really was the player of the year. And for me, that's the most impressive thing, is that this doesn't look like some hot streak. This looks like a guy who's here to stay.
And it was historic, really. I mean, just the 4th player ever to win 5 events in a season, including a major before his 25th birthday. The names on that list, of course, Tiger, Jack, Jordan Spieth. Not bad company. And speaking of Spieth, Thomas and Spieth combined for 8 wins, 2 majors. They're 1 and 2 on the money list for the season. Neither of them have turned 25 yet. We've seen guys like Jason Day, Rory McIlroy have big years, Jeff, but then fade a little bit. Do you think JT and Jordan Spieth are going to have a little more staying power, a little more consistency over this stretch here?
Oh, I think Spieth has done enough. We know he's established himself as a star in the game, if not maybe the star of this next generation, given what he's done over these last few years. And again, I think Justin Thomas is there with him now. I think this was the type of step forward that really, if you look at the game this year, he was the one guy that took a step up a rung. He was a very good player before the season started, but he now is on that top shelf, that class of elite players based on what he did. And I think, yeah, I mean, I think both guys, it's not a fluke. They're both here, and they're going to be a factor for years to come.
Michael, what do you think? Is Thomas deserving to be in that Spieth caliber at this point?
Well, that's up to him and time to decide. Of course, that always goes without saying. But I will say, if you look at the history of the game, the guys with real staying power do not have that fast twitch swing like he has. They're much more like Julius Burris, Jack Nicklaus, Phil Mickelson, not Tiger, Ernie Els, Vijay Singh, something that's a little bit more languid. The only really world-class player who stuck around for a while with a speed that fast would be Nick Price, and even Nick sort of came and went quickly. It's so built on timing, that swing, and the timing's got to be so perfect. I think it's very hard to sustain.
Yeah, you mentioned his fast twitch swing, and also Spieth kind of unorthodox. People have commented on his type of swing as well, Mike.
I would definitely distinguish between Spieth's swing and the imperfections in Spieth's swing are part of who he is, and it gets to the mindset of who the guy is, which is, I'll figure out a way to get it done. It doesn't have to be technically perfect. Whereas this guy needs to be completely on for it to all work together. I wish him all the best, and he's been a joy to cover, and he's great in the press room. He's great with fans. But it's a very first swing, and it's a swing that could lend itself to injury.
All right, well, clearly we're in a new era of golf right now. We're entering the post-Tiger Phil era. Michael, have we left the post-Tiger? Is the Tiger and Phil era completely done? And is this the new era of the young guns that we're entering now? We talked about Spieth and Thomas, so many great young players. Matsuyama right now, Koepka, John Rahm. We're entering, it seems like, a very, very healthy era of golf.
Well, the Phil Tiger era is completely over. The proof is we had weeks on Tour Confidential that Jeff and I do on Sunday nights and many other tournaments where nobody ever talked about Tiger at all. Nobody talked about Phil at all. So in terms of an era, it's over. But I will say this, and I think this is not a popular opinion. I would be surprised Tiger, who's only 41, not to be productive here in the next 10 years. I think Tiger is a very bright person who's going to get his mind straight. And once he gets his mind straight, he can get his body straight and focus on the things that are most important to him. Everything in his life flows from playing world-class golf, and I think he'll get it back. And Phil the same. I think he's a big, strong, athletic guy, and like Julius Burrows and like Sam Snead and like Tom Watson, he should play good golf for another 5, 6, 7 years. So it wouldn't be a shock at all to see either of them win again, but dominant and era finished.
I think in one respect, the era isn't over, and that is in terms of popularity. Even though Tiger, I would agree with you that the winning days of Tiger and Phil and those guys producing the most trophies year to year on tour is over, but they're still two of the most popular figures in the game, if not the most popular. Even despite what Jordan Spieth has done, and Justin Thomas and Jason Day and all these young guys, there's still tremendous interest around Phil and Tiger. And you'll see it this week at the President's Cup too. I mean, Tiger will be, I would wager, the most shown assistant captain on the television network. And it will be the case for years to come. So yes, they're done. The peak of their careers are over, but they're still popular figures and they're still very relevant to the game, even as they enter this next chapter of their lives and careers.
Definitely still popular, but clearly the PGA Tour is a young man's game. The crew that I mentioned, Spieth, Thomas, Matsuyama, Rahm, Koepka, 14 wins, 3 major titles this past season. So they've clearly staked claim to that new era of golf, guys. The FedEx Cup marked the end of the season, of course, for the PGA Tour, but we've got plenty of golf to look forward to this week as the 12th edition of the President's Cup gets underway this Thursday at Liberty National Golf Course. That's right across the Hudson River from us here. That's in Jersey City, New Jersey. Now, I recently had a chance to sit down with the team captains, Steve Stricker and Nick Price. One looking to continue his team's dominance, the other trying to buck a losing trend. Nick, how about third time here?
Amazing.
What an honor that is for you.
It really is, and to be honest, it was very emotional for me when the guys asked me in Korea 2 years ago if I'd do it for a third time, and they couldn't have paid me a high compliment, to be honest. So it was great. Adam and the guys spoke so well. You know, coming here and seeing now that all the bleachers are up and the whole infrastructure has been put together, it really, you can feel the build-up. And what a great venue for this Cup. I think this is probably going to be one of the best ever, to be honest. If the weather cooperates and doesn't get too cold or too much rain, and the fans will be out in force, and that's what gives it all the atmosphere.
Steve, let's talk about these rosters. 5 of the top 8 in the world will be taking part of the President's Cup. For you, though, some new blood into the team event this year. How exciting is it to have that, and what can they bring some of the younger team rookies to this U.S. team this year?
Yeah, they bring a lot of game. That's the bottom line. They're gritty players. They're playing great. They're friends. They've got a lot of camaraderie with all the guys on the top 10 of that list, and they're great to be around. They're fun to be around, and they enjoy being around one another, truthfully, and I think they drive each other to play better each and every week. But it'll be a shock to them when they come here to this first tee. They've never experienced anything like that for these new guys, and that'll be something that we'll have to try to prepare them for and get ready, because you need to come out of the chute firing, and it's a format you want to get on top early.
How about the veterans, Nick? How heavily will you lean on guys like an Adam Scott, a Jason Day, a Hideki Matsuyama, who have been a part of this and probably won't get intimidated by the atmosphere?
Well, you always are. You're dependent on those guys because they are the ones that the younger guys respect. So, my playing days and, of impressing young guys on the golf course is way gone. But it's really important for those guys to pull the rookies aside and the potential team members and say, hey, this is a big deal. You may not think so now, but come and play in a couple and you'll understand, the feeling, the emotion, the camaraderie, the morale that we have in a team. And normally that happens around on the weekend for us with the rookies. They sort of go around the first couple of days and they realize, man, this is really a big deal. So that's what we're trying to change on our team this year, is to make those guys a little more aware of how important this event really is.
Over the years, this will be the 12th playing. Let's get both of your perspectives. Nick, why has the international team failed to win more over the last 11 Cups?
Well, I think first and foremost, we are a hodgepodge of a team made up of so many different countries and players. There has been at certain times maybe a little bit of a language barrier, but what I try and instill in the guys, or tell the guys, is that it doesn't matter whether an Australian is playing with a Japanese or whether it's a South American Argentinian playing with a South African. We all have that competitive spirit in us, and we don't want to lose. We want to win. And you know, that's the big thing, is to get the guys to understand that these teammates, even though just like on the American team, they play against each other week to week. When we get together in that team room, this is our team for the week. We're here to win the cup. You know, I always talk about beating the Americans. It's not about that. It's to win this cup. That's what we do. We do that every week when we go out and play as individuals to win the tournament or a trophy or a major, whatever it is. But we've got a great bunch of guys this year. We really do. I think in times gone by, we may have been a little lean down the bottom as well through 9, 10, 11, and 12. And certainly now reducing the points for the last President's Cup in Korea, that helped a lot. You know, there was always, during the Ryder Cup, the American players always were a little bit upset that guys are hiding players through to the weekend, but that's not what the captain's doing. It's like looking at a glass half full, half empty. What we're doing is putting our very, very best team out there, and the guys that are in form, otherwise we're going to get our butts kicked. So that's the whole idea, I think, of reducing the points. There's more tactics involved and more options to the captains.
Steve, what about you? You've played in 5 of the President's Cup. Why have the Americans had such success?
The only thing I can point a finger to is that we get to play the Ryder Cup when we're not playing the President's Cup, and we get another year of competition under our belt. We get to put players together and pair them together. We get that opportunity to see if that pairing works or doesn't work. We can then apply it to the President's Cup, and vice versa. You know, we've had pairings do well in the President's Cup that we'll use in the Ryder Cup. So we play a competition every year. Maybe just gives us that little edge over the international team. They've got a great team. They always do, and it always comes down to a match or two here or there. And we've just so happened to be on the right side of things. And but it's very competitive, and I expect nothing less than that this year. And hopefully we can get on that right side again and retain that cup.
Last question for each of you. One key to victory for your team in particular. What would you say, Steve?
Make more putts.
Yeah.
Spoken like a true tour pro right there, right?
Short game. Short game is.
Does it really, as far as match
key.
play, is
It's key.
there more emphasis on the short game and making putts?
There's nothing more demoralizing than hitting 2 really good shots to a par 5, maybe 3 putting, and the guy hits in the left woods, chips it out, knocks it on 30 foot and makes birdie, and you lose the hole. So it is. It's to us, I think the whole momentum starts around the greens.
And Steve Stricker and Nick Price will, of course, be manning the helms of the U.S. and international teams this week at the President's Cup. Michael, let's start with the history. The United States has won 9 of 11 President's Cups. Why has it been so lopsided?
Better players. Americans have a much deeper field, much better at the top. There'll be many more events in the United States. I think things to make that easier. But it's just like why have the Europeans won so often against the U.S. and Ryder Cup play? Better players. You can talk about making more putts down the stretch and micromanage it, microanalyze it. It's just if you can add up the quality of your field 1 through 12 and put a number on it. The Europeans have been better for most of the past 20 years, and in the Ryder Cup play, and the Americans have been way better than the rest of the world in President's Cup teams. It's just talent.
That's a great point. 1 through 12 is a great point because 1 through 4, 1 through 6, traditionally these teams have been a lot closer. Are we trending in a different direction though, Jeff? I mean, the Americans are heavy favorites this year, but the last time they met in Korea in 2015, 15.5 to 14.5. Could we be on the verge of an international upset?
It would be a big upset. I mean, the last cup in South Korea, you could almost see that one coming, that it was going to be close. But this year, it just feels like these young American golfers they're taking this a new direction. You have to. Every rookie on the team for the U.S. just looks so strong right now. You can see their enthusiasm for this event. You know they're going to be ready. I mean, I want to make a case for the international team and make a case that this is going to be close this week. I really think the smart money or you just got to love the U.S. chances this week. And I agree with Michael's point that it comes down to better players, but I also think there's something to be said for the bonding that happens within the locker room. And you look at the international team, you're talking about players who are far-flung all over the world. This team doesn't speak even the same language. You know, you've got different challenges in the locker room in that respect, and it's not that they don't want to win, but this U.S. team, these guys play together, they're buddies, and there's a camaraderie that's built too with the U.S. team throughout the year that I think also gives them an advantage this week and in this event.
I was going to ask you guys to make a case for the internationals. I don't think it's in the cards. I don't see you guys making it, especially when you look at the roster, guys. The international team, 5 players played in the Tour Championship last week. One of them was under par, and that was Jason Day. Adam Hadwin, Mark Leishman, Hideki Matsuyama, Jonathan Vegas, all well over par, back of the leaderboard at the Tour Championship. So it's not even like they come into this week playing really good golf. One guy who's played good golf over the years in match play, and that's Patrick Reed. Of course, he's Captain America, the Ryder Cup hero. When you look at this year's American squad, Reed will be there among a cast of other characters, some of the young guys we talked about, Michael. Who's going to be the American hero for this President's Cup team?
Well, I think a rallying person, I don't know about a hero, because if it's a lopsided, you don't really have it. If it's a lopsided win for the U.S., which I'm guessing it will be, you don't necessarily have a hero. But I think the players will really rally around Phil, because I think Phil will put himself in that position of, look at me, I'm the veteran here, and he is the veteran. And then Phil rises to occasions like nobody's business. We've seen that many times. He's played poorly all through the Winter Series and through Florida, showed up at Augusta National and contended or won. He just gets up for events. These team events mean more to him probably than almost anything he's done in golf. This is sort of a trial for him for next year's Ryder Cup team in a sense. This is he's a member of Liberty National. So I think he wants to show that they used the spot well and picking him in the first place. I think Phil will be the most electrifying figure of the 12 American players.
And don't forget, New York and New Jersey fans absolutely love Phil Mickelson. He's the all-time points leader in President's Cup history. Jeff, who do you like? Who steps up for the Americans this week?
I think Phil's a great pick. I think the U.S. is going to get a boost from the rookies this week, and I'm looking at Kevin Kisner maybe to lead the rookies. Make a case for any of them, but I think there's 2 things that I like for team play: confidence and putting. And I think Kevin Kisner, he's got the swagger. Putting is the strength of his game. Could have won a major this year. Could have won the PGA Championship. Contended all the way through the FedEx Cup playoffs, so he's hot right now. And I just think team golf, this is going to suit his game. It's going to play to his strengths. I think he's going to have a great week and be one of the stars for the U.S.
Played very well at the Tour Championship as well last week. Keep an eye on Dustin Johnson, too, guys. 3-1-1 at the Ryder Cup last year, and he is the defending WGC match play champion as well. DJ's been quiet a little bit. Of course, he had the win at the Northern Trust. Michael, let's talk about one guy. If we're talking about leadership, camaraderie, Tiger Woods will be at Liberty National. We haven't seen a whole lot of Tiger since his arrest a few months back. He'll be in the public eye, assistant captain of the Americans. How much of an influence do you think he'll have on this team?
Well, I think Tiger recognizes that these team competitions are extremely important for him. His life is obviously trending towards becoming a Ryder Cup captain himself. I think he would like to redefine his public image and his own sense of himself by showing that he can be part of the community of golf. Throughout his playing career, he was the ultimate lone wolf. He had very few friends among American players. The few friends I did have were much older people like Mark O'Meara, or friends from overseas like Thomas Bjorn. That's a hard way to go through life, and that might be a contributing factor to what we're seeing in him in his life today. So I think he's realizing that, as Barbra Streisand sung, people who need people. We all need people, and you can have the 14 major championships and all the rest, but if you don't have some sense of camaraderie, it's empty. And so I think he has finally recognized that he needs team golf. He needs team golf more than team golf needs him. But having said that, he can contribute a tremendous amount, because if you're some kid, or even if you're Phil Mickelson and you're nervous and you want some advice about what you do down the stretch, what you do on the first tee, who would you rather go to than Tiger Woods?
Yeah, and Jeff, from all accounts, from Hazeltine at the Ryder Cup, he was a major factor in that clubhouse.
Right, the young guys, the reviews on Tiger from that Ryder Cup were overwhelmingly positive. I would expect nothing different this week. They're so many young guys in the game today looked up to Tiger. He was one of their heroes and one of the reasons they got into the golf in the first place. And so to have him in that locker room, yes, I agree with Michael that Tiger needs golf, but there's still a lot he can offer these young players, especially a week like this where it's all about the team and you're sold out for that team cause. Tiger, I think he'll be another positive influence in that locker room.
A lot to look forward to this week. Jeff and Michael, thank you. Anytime we can get a Barbra Streisand quote from Michael Bamberger, you know today was a success. Thank you, guys. All right, we're just getting started this Tuesday. Coming up, Tiffany Oshinsky is going to sit down with professional race car driver Danica Patrick to find out how she got into the game of golf and what her favorite course is to play. But first, the highly anticipated Streamsong Black golf course opens later this week. Designed by acclaimed architect Gil Hans, we were able to get an exclusive look at the course via drone. Check it out.
Hello, my name's Troy Merritt, Wilson Staff Advisory Member, and I'm going to teach you here how to hit a little 30-yard pitch shot off a slight downhill lie. So the key for this shot is knowing that when the ball is below your feet, you're going to spin it just a little bit less. So I've got about a good 45 feet of green to work with, so what I'm going to do is make sure to move the ball back in my stance just a little bit to make sure my contact is where it needs to be. I'm going to try and land it just on the green and use all the room that I can. Okay, so now on a flatter lie with this much green to work with, I'm going to be able to get the ball up in the air just a little bit more, but I still want to use as much green as I can to let the ball land and release towards the hole. So I'm going to take my 54 this time. I'm going to play a little bit more of a square face. I'm still going to keep it back to make sure I get that nice crisp contact. Keep the hands just a little bit forward, the weight on the left side. Nice and crisp, comes out a little low with just a little bit more spin. Chip it up there nicely and go and try to make your putt for par.
Okay, Danica, so you grew up in northern Illinois on the border of Wisconsin. When I think golf, that's not really the area that comes to mind. So how did you get into golf? How old were you?
I was about 30.
Oh, really? So not a childhood thing.
Not a child at all. I never played golf. My boyfriend really, really loves golf. I remember going to play with him for the first time. We were on vacation in Turks and Caicos, and there was one golf course, and he loves golf so much. So we went golfing that day, and I don't really like to do things I'm not good at. Golf is something that I feel like someday when we have children, they will start golf very young because there is something that feels so unnatural about a golf swing that I feel like only if you've been at it since you were a child, you would be comfortable with it. I haven't played very much golf as of late, but I am a member, an honorary member of the best course in the country, which is Scottsdale National, owned by Bob Parsons, which is my old GoDaddy sponsor. He founded GoDaddy, and now he has a golf course. Scottsdale National is the nicest. It's beautiful. The clubhouse is beautiful. The food is amazing. I don't have to say that. It just is true.
Fast when we're down here testing.
196.4 miles an hour for Danica.
That's a great lap.
Now you live your life 100 miles per hour or faster.
Or 200.
Or 200 miles per hour. Golf, on the other hand, is probably one of the slowest sports out there. Do you get antsy on the course, or is it kind of a break for you?
No, you can get frustrated. I mean, you can definitely let someone get to you or let a shot get to you. Similarly in golf, I think, and let it get in your head, but you have to kind of take like one pass at a time, one lap at a time. You'll never get a hole-in-one on every hole. You just won't. I don't believe there'll ever be someone that does that. Just like you're never going to go through an entire season in the NASCAR Cup Series with a winning every single race. It's just not going to happen. So they're incredibly humbling sports.
Now, you broke into a men's sport, and golf is still kind of segregated. There's still kind of the boys' club. So what are your thoughts on women who are smaller, might not be the same size, playing with men and trying to compete with them?
So many things come down to technique, right? I mean, so the mechanics of it and the timing of everything, and it always matters.
Now, on Instagram, you posted a picture of you golfing, and what you said was, golf is the most frustrating game in the world, but somehow we keep coming back for more. So what is the most frustrating thing?
It's the highs and the lows. Playing badly is frustrating. When you hit a good shot, you're like, why can't I do that every time? I used to keep score, and it was once you get over 10, it gets really hard to count. And keep track of it. I'm like 1, 2, in 3, out 4, 5, I could take a drop, 6, hit 7. I can't even keep track anymore. And so I would get really mad. And Ricky would tell me, like, he's like, I'm not going to play with you if this is how you're going to act, like a dad. And I'm like, okay. So I stopped keeping score, and I started playing for smiley faces. So if I would have a positive attitude hole, I'd put a smiley face.
Emoji golf.
Yeah. And if I'd have a bad hole, unhappy face, frown face, play for smiley faces.
You'll eventually show them up. You'll get there. You're athletic.
We have a lifetime bet. It's a $10,000 bet, and I get paid if I beat him. Now, there's no other side to it, so there's only upside for me. But I believe that someday, when he's having a really bad day and I'm having a really good day, I will win that bet.
Chappell's setup is a little unusual for a long hitter on the PGA Tour. His feet are fairly narrow at address, and his grip is slightly weaker than what we see out of some players like Dustin Johnson or Jason Day. Chappell's lower body is very stable as he moves the club away from the ball, and his backswing is much more compact than we see out of some long hitters on the tour. From face on, we can see in the change of direction that Chappell's club shaft will get closer to his right shoulder as he starts the downswing than it was going up. This floating down, or lag, as it's been described, is a great source for power in the swing. He does this by being soft with his arms and his hands and initiating the motion with his lower body. As he approaches impact, we can see the handle stop and his right hand begin to work over the club. This throwing of the toe through impact helps square up the face and is an excellent thing to do for most people if they struggle with a slice. Through impact and into the finish, Chappell allows the weight of the club and his arms to pull his body up into a balanced position. Despite a shorter backswing, a more compact swing overall, Chappell still produces tremendous speed by working everything together to the end of the swing.
All right, and that's going to do it for this week's edition of Golf Live. We'll be back with you next week with a brand new episode recapping this week's President's Cup and looking ahead, of course, to the start of the 2017-2018 PGA Tour season, which is just upon us now in a couple weeks now. Be sure to stick with Golf.com for all the latest golf news, including our coverage of the President's Cup and exclusive video content. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Thanks a lot for joining us. Have a great day.